Welcome to SAS Daily Podcast. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. And thank you guys for subscribing. I'm blessed enough to have an interview with a Bigfoot witness. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, thanks.
All right, I'll let you tell the people about your story.
Okay, well, I guess I'd have to start off in seventh grade. I read a book about Sir Hillary going to climbing Mount Everest, and he saw Yeti footprints up there. And that was the first time I ever heard of Yeti. And I thought they were just up in the Himalayas or something. I never imagined they were anywhere else. And then So I grew up in the city, kind of the suburbs of New York City and northern New Jersey. And we always had street lights and there was always houses around. And I didn't really ever go in the woods. I never went camping. And then my parents bought some property in Vermont and we moved up when I was 15. And that was a long time ago. It was 1970. And so the first thing that happened, which I didn't know what it was because I wasn't used to woods and I wasn't used to anything. And we lived 10 miles from school. And my parents they thought they bought 60 acres, but it turned out to be 25. And it was on the top of a knoll, and there was 4.5 acres where they built the house on top of this knoll. It was surrounded by woods, and there was some logging roads that the place had been logged several years before. So one night I was home alone. My parents went shopping and my younger brother, and I was there, and there was all these terrifying screams and vocalizations, and I didn't know what it was. And I had talked to another person, and he asked me if I saw any orbs. And I said I didn't, but thinking back on it, I did see orbs. And I had talked to a neighbor about it, and they said it was just like gas deposits. I had no idea what I was hearing or seeing. And by the time my parents came home, I was freaking out, and they all said, laughed and called me a city girl, and there wasn't anything in the woods that would hurt me. And I never wanted to be alone. When we lived, like I said, 10 miles from school. So we were in a very rural area. There was a farm across the road, but it was quite a ways across the road. So we had no neighbors, really. So that was my first experience. And then come spring of that same year, we only had a small property in northern New Jersey. So when I got up here in Vermont, we were like pretty excited about all the property we had, and I was running around and stuff. And I have a younger brother that was a pain, and he used to tease me all the time and play pranks on me, and he was just, an annoying younger brother. And so it was in the spring or early summer, and I was running around outside barefoot, and I heard these noises, and I thought it was my brother. And so I went up by the woods by this logging road. There was a logging road there, and there was brush along the side of the woods, where it connected to the field. And I thought it was my brother, and I kept saying, Philip, I'm right here. Where are you? I'm right here. Stop fooling around and stuff. And so I was running around there, and I kept hearing these noises. So I went in just inside the tree line, and I was running through there, and there were these big humps on the ground, like it was covered with woods, wood soil and leaves and stuff. And I was running over them and I stepped on one. There were two lumps and long. And I stepped on one and I heard this, ugh, like that. And I thought, oh, that's weird. And then when I went on the logging road, there were these two trees. And I said, gee, I don't remember seeing those in the middle of the logging road before. And they looked weird. I was like, are trees hairy? Trees are hairy? And then I heard more noises, so I went back down because I was approaching these trees, and so the noise came again. And so I went back into the field, and I was running, standing there right by the edge of the woods, and I felt something on my ankle, and I kind of shook it off, but I looked down, and it was a hand with a thumb. It was dark, and it had fur that was hair several inches long that kind of came like from the wrist area and down the hand a little. And it was kind of reddish, and it was very, very soft. And it wasn't matted or anything. It was all straight. And so I ran, and so I ran away, and I ran down by my parents' house. So that was down a hill. And so I went down the hill and I crouched down and I looked up and I could see two, I didn't know what they were, two Bigfoot faces. They had been laying on the ground right along the field and right along the edge of the woods. And so I guess they were pretty surprised that I did that. So they kind of like had this change their faces so their eyes looked kind of no life in them, kind of like, so they had these really stupid grins on their face. One was looking straight ahead like he was a mannequin, and then the other one looked up to the right, and they had this really stupid grin, and their teeth were large and square. They weren't fang-like at all, and they had spaces in between. And the one on the left, his teeth were a little crooked. And so I thought, I didn't know. I could tell you, I didn't know what I was looking at. And so I went back up there, and they threw their voice, so it sounded like my little brother was way down the end of the field and that he was hurt or something. So I ran down there to see if he was okay. And I didn't find him anywhere. So I went in the house and I said, I'm trying to find Philip. I can't find him. He sounds like he's hurt or something. And my mom said, he's been here the whole time. He hasn't left. So that was one of my experiences. And the Bigfoot craze started a few years later, at least when I heard about it.
Yeah,
So that was one of my experiences.
that sounds like they was trying to warn you for sure.
I think, well, from the people that I've talked to, your friends, I had gone to a Bigfoot thing at the library, and they were discussing Bigfoot, and they said that they thought it was like the Native Americans would have a challenge like of courage, so they would touch their enemy but not kill them. And so I thought, that's what they said they thought it was, but I thought that they never they were wanting to touch my skin because I wasn't furry, and maybe they wanted to find out what it felt like.
Yeah,
That's all. Like,
there is a lot of connection between Native Americans and Bigfoot.
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I said there is a big connection between Native Americans and Bigfoot.
Okay, all I hear is kind of like a twanging. I don't really hear what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, I heard that.
Yeah. So you got another experience as well?
I've got other experiences. So I was, my mom wanted us outside a lot. We got on her nerves. So I was, instead of going up the logging road, this time I was walking through the woods. And I heard these people talking, and I thought it must be neighbors or something. But they were talking really like gibberish, and they were coming down the logging road, and I didn't see them, but I could hear them. And I just thought it was a neighbor or something. So I said, hey, I'm new here. And I ran over there, and there wasn't anybody there. There was nobody there. But they had a real conversation going on, these two people. But I think it was Bigfoot because it was a language I didn't know. And I mean, it was definitely a language. But it sounded like gibberish, kind of weird.
Yeah, they're known to
So,
do that for sure.
so that was one I had. And then another time, um, I got married a few years later, and I was um, coming home from my mom's house. My mom lived like three miles away, and I was walking back and forth. And I thought, well, I'm going to cut across this field. I was married to a dairy farmer, and I thought I'll cut across this field and get home that way, and it'll be nice to go through there. So there was snow on the ground, and I came across these footprints, and the Bigfoot craze was going on then, but these were not, you know, how people wore those wooden Bigfoot and they would walk around and try to, you know, scare people. But this was different. You could see their toes, and they dug into the snow. So you could see individual toes, and I could see the footprint. I mean, it was fresh. So, I mean, it was really hard for me to accept it in my head. And so I was trying to walk like I couldn't, like the biggest step that I could take from one footprint to the other, it didn't even make half of the way. And I started getting a really bad feeling. All the other times I never had a bad feeling, but this one I had a really bad feeling, and I could see where it had gone quite a ways, and where I was, you couldn't see any houses at all. And I started to panic and got out of there real quick, as fast as I could, continuing the way I was going to go. I couldn't go back the other way. So then another time, we were getting some heifers out of um, this area that was kind of swampy, and I think they're called adlers, these trees. They were really dense. And my husband told me, stand over there, and if any of them come towards you, you scare them back up my way. And I'm like, okay. So I was standing there, and there was no one around, and nobody could see me, and there wasn't a house that anybody could see me. And all of a sudden, I hear this kind of noise, and I was like, what is that? It sounded like somebody calling me. So I started walking towards this huge tree, and I was like, what is it? What do you want? You know, I thought it was my husband or something. And then I realized that the sound was coming from the top, near the top of this tree. And I started getting a really horrible, bad feeling again. And I panicked and got out of there. So those are some of the things that happened to me. There's a couple other things. When we first bought the property, when my parents first bought that property, there was tall grass, like 4 feet or more high. And there was all these depressions in the grass, and my parents said it was deer. Deer had been there, but there was so many. It was like 50 of them. And I'm wondering if there was like a corridor where they would travel through, came down past those houses, where in an area where you couldn't see them, through the field, across the road, and then came down through the woods, came down our area, down the logging road, and then through the woods, and then crossing the road. Because as a teenager, I was driving a car very, very fast. And at night, I'd be coming around a corner, and all these, I'm like, hairy trees in the road. And I was swerving around them and stuff. And I was driving fast enough that I couldn't think, what the heck are these hairy trees doing in the road? And I just wanted to get out of there. But that's some of the experiences I had. But when I saw them in the road, I didn't see their face. I just saw what looked like trunks of trees. And there was a lot of them. There was like 10 of them. There was a bunch of them, and they were crossing the road. So I think that that property that my parents originally had before they put the house up, it was surrounded by woods. The locals didn't even know it was there. The only one who knew it was the farmer that my parents bought the property from. I'm wondering if that was like a sanctuary for a couple of families of Bigfoot, because it's very secluded.
Definitely could have been for sure.
I think we interrupted them, but I used to go out in the middle of the winter. It was very, very quiet, and I would shovel the driveway with the stars, and we had like a lantern on a post down the driveway, and then we had spotlights on the corners of the house. So I would turn them on, and I'd go out there, and I would shovel the driveway, and I'd be singing. And I'm wondering if they got interested in me because I was singing.
Could have definitely been.
I think they're very interested in music. And I've heard Dr. Russ Jones told me that they're very interested in women. And if someone, you know, asked me one time, how would you draw them near you? And I said, go out into the woods, bring a guitar and sing something nice, something, I don't know, something old fashioned, like a country song or something, especially if a woman does it. So I think that's when they started getting interested in me, because before they were screaming and had these horrible sounds. Like, I can't describe it, but if somebody has a recording that's an actual real recording, I'm like, that's it. That's what I heard. And I can tell fake ones recordings, and I can tell the real ones, but I can't describe it. But it was just horrible to hear, screams, and then these kind of like loud gibberish and stuff like that. So anyway, I've been told I'm a magnet for Bigfoot.
Yeah, that means it was probably warning you.
I'm sorry, one of me?
No, warning you.
Warning me?
Yeah,
Oh,
not to come
yeah,
closer.
I think they were the first time till I got out in the winter and was shoveling and singing and stuff, because it was beautiful with the stars and everything shining. I think they heard me, and because they would travel through the woods, at night on a clear night. So I think they heard me singing, and I think that they might have just changed towards me, maybe. I
Definitely.
don't, I don't know. I'm no expert. This is all I know and what I've read different things. I didn't know what it was that I was seeing or hearing, or my parents just said, well, they're they're just wild animals, and there's nothing out there that's going to hurt you. But they made fun of me. They were really laughing because I was a city girl. But years later, we all moved out. My younger brother and I moved out, and my dad died in '96. And we were talking to my mom one day, and my mom is the type of person that would never apologize or say that she did something wrong. She would never do that. And out of the blue, she said, there's something up in those woods. And that's all she said. So she must have had some experiences too, but she would never talk about it. And she's since passed away. So, well, that's my story.
I appreciate you telling me your story for sure.
I couldn't hear you.
I said I appreciate you telling the story.
You think I'm crazy?
No, I said I appreciate you telling the story.
Do you have any questions? Because I just kept talking because I couldn't hear you very well.
Oh, you're fine. It's that's having AT&T in Eastern Kentucky. You can't get good signal.
Yeah, yeah, I believe it. So, do you have any questions, though? I mean, anything that maybe would help stir my memory, or
Did you see the height, like how tall they was?
how high they were?
Yeah, how tall?
Um, well, the one on the logging road, there were two of them. One was shorter. And they were up a little bit. The logging road went up. Um, they were up a little bit higher than I was. I couldn't see. I couldn't see them. I only saw like what looked like a trunk of a tree. I think what they do is raise their arms up, so that they mimic a tree, but you don't see you don't see their arms, but their torso and looks like a trunk of a tree. But I just remember saying, I don't remember trees being in the middle of the logging road. And then as I got closer, I'm like, are trees hairy? I mean, it's hard to explain. It's sort of like seeing an alien. It's like, am I seeing that? You know,
Yeah,
it's just, it was, I had no reference at all to what I was seeing. There was nothing nothing written about that I knew. I didn't know about the Patterson film. I didn't know anything at that time, and I had no idea what I was seeing, and I couldn't really figure it out. Does that make sense?
yeah. I've heard whistling before from what I suspect to be a Bigfoot.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard whistling. Um, I might have when that one was up in a tree. It had to be that. I knew it was something up there way high, and then I just had this horrible sinking feeling in my gut, and I'm like, I got to get out of here now. He might have whistled, but I don't remember. I just remember I thought it was my husband calling me, and so I was walking down towards that, but I don't know if I ever heard him whistling. I thought it was a person,
Yeah.
you know.
I've heard a lot of people say they've heard the jibber jabber talk that they do.
I heard the gibberish. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, a lot of people hear that.
Yeah, that's really weird. And like I said, that one night when I was home alone, there was a lot of that. And just like when you hear the actual recordings and how crazy it is, when the noises that they're making and everything, that's what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're very intelligent.
Yes. Yes, definitely. I don't think that they're aliens. I don't think that they go up in spaceships. I just my opinion, my unknowledgeable opinion of Bigfoot is they're just um I don't know, the missing link or something. I think they're just part animal, part human, part something like that. They're not all animal. They're not like a wild animal, but they're not human. They're kind of like a mix.
Yeah, sort of like a
That's my
Neanderthal.
opinion. Pardon?
Sort of like a Neanderthal.
Can't hear you.
Neanderthal.
Still can't hear you. It's kind of twanging.
You're good. I said they're kind of like a Neanderthal.
Oh, yes, I think so. But they have a language for sure. I have heard one last winter woke me up around 2 o'clock in the morning where I live here near Harlan, Kentucky, and I heard one up in the woods um, near my house. Woke me right up, and it was funny because I started smiling. I thought, oh, there's a Bigfoot out there. I wasn't scared this time. I guess because I've read so much about them since and good stories, mostly. And I don't think they mean to. I, from what I've read, there are some that have hurt people, but none of that I've experienced have. Well, my daughter lives out in Washington State, so this is kind of interesting. And this is about, I don't know, 21 years ago. My granddaughter's 24 now. But when she was in her crib, my daughter, she was a toddler, and she put her in her crib to take a nap, and she was not sleeping, I could tell. So the door was partly open. So I looked in through the door and I saw her bedroom was on the second floor at the back of the house. And they had all woods in the back of their house. And I said, "What are you doing?" She was looking out the window and she goes, "I'm looking at the gorillas." And I went, "Okay." So kids don't lie. So I think that she was looking at Bigfoot
Yeah,
and behind.
I've
I
heard.
do.
I do too. I've heard that a lot.
So she was really scared. She started getting really scared of the gorillas in the backyard and up in the woods. So I went out with her and we sat on some logs and I clapped my hands and I said, "Gorillas, go away." And so I said, "You say it too." So she started saying, and she was holding on to a teddy bear because she was really scared. And so we started like chanting, "Gorillas, go away," until she felt like they were really gone. And then we went back in the house. I didn't think about it at the time that it was Bigfoot. I thought she was just had a good imagination. But now I'm thinking, I think it was Bigfoot.
That's a possibility.
Yeah, that's for sure. There was lots of woods behind their house, and they had the contractors had or the builder. Um, their house was on a hill, and they flattened it out on top, and so the house was built in this flat area, and there was a small backyard, and then it went up into the woods. It went up. They even terraced it, and I had planted wildflowers on the terrace part. And so the back of the hill that was level, it was level eyesight with the second floor. And so yeah, she was watching them. She must have seen him enough that got scared.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's the only experiences I've had, and that was quite quite the, from what I understand, that's quite the encounter when they touch your ankle.
Yeah, I've never heard that actually.
Mm,
So that's you had a rare experience for sure.
yeah. Well, I appreciate you allowing me to talk about it.
For sure. And it seems like Bigfoot trusted you as well, and still does trust you. It seems like Bigfoot still visits you.
Sure, what you said right then.
I said it seemed like Bigfoot trusts you.
I guess. Yes. It must have been because I was singing, and I was just singing like church songs or Joan Baez songs, things like that they're not like rock and roll or you know, and I think they liked it.
Yeah. I appreciate you being on.
Well, thank you very much. I hope I can hear it sometime.
Absolutely. I'll send it to you.
Really? Okay.
I
If you
appreciate
want me to do it over, I can do it over.
No, you did a good job. I appreciate
Really?
the Bigfoot witness being on. Everybody have a good night and God bless.